Average Pat's Movie Reviews.
Hi everyone, Average Pat here to sit to chat today about the new movie Jumanji: The Next Level. This is the third iteration of the Jumanji series after the incredible success of the second one, which introduced new characters, new storylines, new twist to the old classic that starred Robin Williams. This time around, the cast is all back for more fun. I'm going to read off the list here just so I don't miss anybody. Karen Gillan, Dwayne Johnson, The Rock obviously, Madison Iceman, Jack Black, Awkwafina, Danny DeVito, Nick Jonas, Kevin Hart, Colin Hanks, and of course Danny Glover. Incredible cast, incredibly well done, good movie. The one thing that I noticed and I mentioned to my boys as I walked out of the theater with them was that there was a very high incidence of language. Now I know it's a PG-13 movie. You kind of assume that there's going to be some sort of excessive language or violence. Since this is going to be more of a family type movie that they're campaigning it as, it kind of got on my nerves a little bit that there was so much language in it. We sat in the theater, my two of my eldest, almost 13 and 10, and the kids behind us, I think were probably about 7 to 10, somewhere in that same age range, and I heard them gasp a couple times and laugh at a couple times when they heard curses because they're not used to hearing them. Excuse me, my boys were the same way. They kind of like, oh, okay. There are adult jokes mixed in that are very cleverly disguised, but not very disguised. If you pay attention, you hear them, you realize them. Most of the adults got them. Majority of the kids did not. To me, I think it's pushing it a little bit too much, but it also might be part of the reason that this new series, the new casting has success because of how well they play off each other. Overall, the movie was very entertaining. It was very good. It was a nice little twist on the second iteration, the first one that came around with this group of people. In this story, we find Spencer is not happy with his life and decides that he wants to go back to feeling as a big, bad, save-the-world person and wants to go back into Jumanji and assume the character of the role that The Rock had in there, Dr. Bravestone. And things don't quite go as planned. People go in and they don't transform to the people they usually were able to. They didn't have a chance to pick their avatars. People get mixed up. People go in that shouldn't go in. And the whole new aspect of the game has a different twist. Now you have to explain it to people who aren't familiar with it. You have to explain what exactly it is, that it's a video game, that you're not really there. You haven't died. You haven't gone to hell or met up with George's or Martha's boys. It's just an interesting twist. It was quite hilarious to see The Rock and Kevin Hart both doing roles similar to what the first version of this was, but not, because they're different personalities of the people playing the characters. To see Kevin Hart doing Danny Glover, talking very slow and very deliberate, was hilarious. The role was very well set up for him. It's obvious that they had fun making it. Seeing The Rock trying to portray Danny DeVito being inside him is hilarious. Seeing stuff going along those lines, it's funny. You can see this from the trailer when you see who is introduced as who. And so I'm not spoiling anything by saying that they're there, but to see the performances as they go throughout the movie and their reactions to different scenes and the questions asked by the people who are not initiated to the whole idea of the game is quite hilarious to see. I enjoyed it very thoroughly. Like I said, the only concern that I had was the language, being as this is being marketed as a kids-friendly family film. I kind of call that into question. Overall, is it a family-friendly film? I believe it is. It does, have its cartoonish violence, which we expected because it was in the first one. And the second one, honestly. The first iteration with this group. We'll call it the reboot, just because it's easier to keep, instead of saying iteration. The reboot of this original story was a new twist where they went into the game as a video game as opposed to the board game coming to them. To see the different scenarios come up and how to keep it real and how to keep it on its toes and keep the audience guessing was neat to see. The addition of Awkwafina this time around was a very enjoyable role. She did very well with portraying who she was supposed to at different moments. The facial expressions, the hand gestures, the overall attitude that she showed while she was being certain people was very, very funny. She brought a nice little set of outside humor to it, and some of the jokes, again, of the adult-styled orient were delivered by her, but very well done, where if you weren't paying attention, you wouldn't understand it, but it's there, and it's funny. So, overall, I definitely say it's a good movie. It's a good family movie as long as the kids aren't really young, like 5, 6, 7 years old. I think they might be a little bit appalled by the amount of language as well. My older one, who's 12, he laughed at a lot of the jokes because it didn't really matter to him. And his line to me in the car coming home was, well, that's what society is now. It's kind of that way. Which is a little bit depressing to hear him think that way, but unfortunately, I think he does have a point. We're a lot more lax with language now than we used to be many, many years ago. Movies, PG-13, you had one major curse and that was it. If you had two, it was rated R. Anything, repeatedly back and forth of the 7 words that you can't say on TV, raise that status of a rating higher and higher. And I think they push the limits a lot in this, but again, it's more acceptable, if you will. So it's kind of a double-edged sword on there, I think. The younger kids might be too sensitive for the jokes. The parents will enjoy it overall. I know I did, and I had a great time, and I laughed quite a few times, and actually, saw some jokes coming and laughed when they delivered them perfectly. The punchlines were very well executed. The scenes were funny, the way they came across. My oldest was able to pick up some of them, not very many, because he kept guessing. My 10-year-old didn't see as much of a lot of the jokes coming, didn't find it quite as funny because I think the jokes were a little bit over his head. So again, it's a family friendly as long as the kids are a little bit on the older side. Younger kids, I don't think are going to appreciate it as much. That being said, I do have to take that into account for the rating. So I'd only give this a 4.25, 4.25 out of 5. Just because of the fact that it's marketed more family friendly, but it's not quite very family friendly because of the language and the adult jokes, in my opinion. I think, again, they're pushing their luck with some of them. They got away with a lot, and the way the characters interact, you expect it from certain characters just because of the way they're presented, and it's delivered well in persona of the characters. And don't hold that against them. That's what that's what they're handed as a script. What they were written as, and they delivered it well. The personalities were very believable. That being said, I think it's a little bit too much for some of the younger crowds. So again, 4.25 out of 5. Go see it if you want. It's a very funny time. If you're an older person or an adult, or you got older kids, I'm sure you'll enjoy it quite heartily. It was a good movie for me. If you like this review or any of my reviews, please don't hesitate to like them on Facebook. Subscribe to my YouTube page. Click that little notification bell. That way you know when I post new videos. This will be posted today. Today's the 15th. Probably about 15 minutes. I hope to do a couple more this week before the kids go on school for summer or for winter vacation. I'm going to try to go out and see Richard Jewell. So if you are interested in that and have a big memory of that actually taking place, hopefully you'll pay attention to that as well. Thanks a lot. Have yourself a great night, guys.